within almost all the Hatha Yoga texts, the Dharana, which is the first stage in these methods of concentration, that they teach 5 dharanas on the 5 elements. And so you start with the earth element, and then move up through water, fire, air, and then finally space, which I've mentioned a few times, is the 5th element, the akasha, which is the kind of locus that everything exists in. And so they're basically meditations on the elements, but they correspond in some ways also to the chakras as well, because the first 5 chakras are each associated with an element. So there are big overlaps between the visualizations of the elements and of the chakras. I'll read the first one in Sanskrit. I haven't read any Sanskrit, but they're quite nice verses. Yat tattvam haritala desha ruchiram bhaumam lakaranvitam sanyuktam kamalasanenahi chatushkornam hridisthapitam pranam tatra viliya panchaghatikashchitanvitam dharaye esha stambakari sadakshitijayam kuryat bhuvo dharana. So the earth element shines like a piece of yellow orpiment. Orpiment is one of these strange, curious substances that are used in alchemy. It's a kind of oxide of arsenic. The earth element shines like a piece of yellow orpiment. It's a very bright yellow and contains the syllable la. It is accompanied by Brahma, is square and is situated at the heart. Fix the breath and the mind there for 2 hours. This is the earthly dharana. It always brings about steadiness and it conquers the earth. So then now the water element. Ardhendu pratimam cha kundadhavalam kantem bhutatvam sthitam yat piyusha bhakara bija sahitam yuktam sada vishmana pranam tatra viliya panchaghatikashchitanvitam dharaye esha duhosaheta papa harini syadam vasidharana. So the water element is situated in the throat. It's curious this, because you find these in this. I mean, it varies a lot from text to text, but there are dharanas more simple than this, and the verses aren't as beautiful. But in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra that I was reading earlier, so they kind of, in some ways, correspond to the chakra system, because even though that text doesn't mention chakras at all, it still has these elemental dharanas and these. So visualizing, meditating on places in the body that correspond to elements, it's very similar to what you do with the chakras. So this one here, the water element is situated in the throat, kampe. It resembles a half moon and is as white as a jasmine flower. It has the ambrosial syllable wa as its seed mantra, and is always associated with Vishnu. Fix the breath and the mind there for 2 hours. This is the watery dharana. It removes unbearable suffering and sins. Yes, this is the idea. I think it would say that the implication is that you do hold your breath for 2 hours, but there's also this notion of being able to move the breath around the body and hold it in a certain place, as well as your mind. So you put your breath somewhere and you focus, you meditate on that place as well. Yeah, you're onto fire then. Yat talus pitam indragopa sadrusham tattvam trikonanvitam tejo repamayam pradiptum aranam rudrena yat sangatam pranam tatra viliya panchaghatikashchitanvitam dharaye esha kala gambhira bhita harani veshwanari dharana. So the fire element is at the palate. So everything's kind of moved up and squashed. It resembles an Indragopa insect. Yad bhinanjana punja sannibham idam tattvam brugorantare vratam vayumayam yakara sahitam yatreshvaro devata pranam tatra viliya panchaghatikashchitanvitam dharaye Esha ke gamanam karoti yaminam syadvayavi dharana. So the air element is between the eyebrows and looks like a mass of lamp black, i.e. the soot from burning a lamp. It's a circle, it's associated or accompanied by the syllable ya, and the deity there is Ishvara, so that's another form of Shiva. Rolling here under, it's interesting to see the sequence of gods as well here. Fix the breath and the mind there for 2 hours. This airy dharana brings about the ability to move through space. And the final one, the ether, or the space element, akasha. Akasham su vishuddhavari sadrisham yad brahmarandre stitham tatra dhyena sadashivena sahitam tattvam akaranvitam pranam tatra viliya panchagatikashchitanvitam dharaye isha moksha kavarta partana patuhu prokta nabodharana. So the space element is at the aperture, the opening of Brahman. So that's on the top of the head in this understanding. So that's where you blast your life principle or your soul out of if you want to end your life. So the gateway, the aperture of Brahman, and it looks like the clearest water. It is associated there with the primordial Sada Shiva, so the eternal Shiva, and it contains the syllable Ha. And I've got a note here saying no shape is given here for visualizing the space element. In other texts it is circular, and the air element, which in this text is circular, is visualized as a ring of 6 dots. Fix the breath and the mind there for 2 hours. The Dhyana is generally translated simply as meditation. It's the closest to simple meditation. So here in the Dattatreya text, then the yogin should practice meditation, dhyana. He should hold his breath for 24 hours, there you go, said explicitly, and meditate on the deity who will grant what he wants. Thus the conditioned meditation arises. Conditioned, i.e. he's meditating on something. It's not, he's got a focus for his meditation, which bestows the powers of becoming infinitesimal and so forth. So this is anima, etc., the 8 classical siddhis, sort of magical powers. By meditating on something unconditioned, such as space, so again we've got this idea that you first find in Buddhist texts, he enters on the path to liberation. So that's a fairly terse, concise description of meditation, and now moving from that to a more conditioned description. You have the notion of sagun dhyana. I mentioned it before when I brought up the picture of the Ramcharitmanas, so the picture of Rama, and I was talking about the different methods of devotion to God. You either worship God as sagun, which is with qualities, with form, or nirgun, so without qualities, without form, so some kind of unconditioned. It's harder to do because there's nothing to actually latch your mind on. You're trying to completely empty your mind. And that's often, in this system, unlike in the Yoga Sutras, where you can have both a conditioned and unconditioned samadhi. Generally in the Hatha systems, samadhi is when you're concentrating not on anything in particular. It's an unconditioned meditation. There are said to be 3 types of dhyana: gross, luminous and subtle. Gross is of an image and luminous is of light. Subtle dhyana is of bindu. So this is bindu not as semen, but bindu as normally as a dot or a light. That's the literal meaning of bindu, is a drop. It is Brahman, and Kundalini is the ultimate deity. The yogi should visualize a sublime ocean of nectar in his heart, with an island of jewels in its middle, whose sand is made of gemstones. In every direction there are kadamba trees with abundant flowers. and it is ringed with a thick Kadamba forest like a stockade, where the scents of Malati, Malika, Jati, Kesara, Champa, Parijata, and Sthala Padma flowers perfume every quarter. In its middle, the yogi should imagine an enchanting, wish-fulfilling tree, whose 4 branches are the 4 Vedas, and which permanently bears flowers and fruit. Bees and cuckoos buzz and call there. He should steady himself and visualize a great jeweled pavilion there. In its middle, he should imagine a delightful throne on which he should visualize his tutelary deity, so his chosen, his preferred deity, according to the Dhyana taught by his guru. So his deity with the features that his guru has taught him that his chosen deity should have. That deity should regularly be meditated upon with its associated form, ornaments, and vehicle. This is called gross dhyana. Next, the yogi should visualize a lotus attached to the pericarp of the great 1,000-petaled lotus. It is white, luminous, and has 12 seed syllables. Ha, sak, shama, lava, ra, yung, ha, sak, ha, and flame, in that order. In the middle of its pericarp is a triangle made of the syllables up, ka, ka, and so forth, at whose corners are ha, la, and ksha. Inside it is om. The yogi should imagine a beautiful seat there consisting of nada and bindu. On it are a pair of swans and a pair of wooden sandals. He should visualize his guru there as a god with 2 arms and 3 eyes, dressed in white, bedaubed with white-scented paste, wearing a garland of white flowers and in the company of his crimson shakti. By dhyana of the guru like this, the gross dhyana is perfected. I have described the gross dhyana. Hear from me the luminous dhyana, by which yoga is perfected and the soul is directly perceived. Kundalini is in the Muladhara in the form of a snake. The Jivatman, so that's the kind of life principle, dwells there in the form of the flame of a lamp. Meditate on Brahman as made of light. This is the supreme luminous dhyana. Between the eyebrows and above the mind is a light consisting of Om. Meditate on it as joined with a ring of fire. That is the luminous dhyana. You have heard the luminous dhyana, Chanda. I shall describe the subtle dhyana. When, through abundant good fortune, the yogi's kundalini awakens, she joins with the self, exits through the sockets of the eyes and roams about the royal road. Because she flits about, she cannot be seen. The yogi attains success through Shambhavi Mudra and Dhyana Yoga. This subtle dhyana is to be kept secret. It is hard for even the gods to attain. The luminous dhyana is considered to be 100 times better than the gross dhyana, and the supreme subtle dhyana is 100,000 times better than the luminous dhyana. Thus have I taught you the very precious dhyana yoga. By means of it, the soul becomes directly perceptible. That is why dhyana is special. You need a guru to explain that one to you. I've translated it here as absorption. It's one of those many words that are rather tricky to translate. But here in the Dattatreya text, it says, then having perfected unconditioned meditation, so as opposed to this sadhana meditation where you've got an object to visualize when you're meditating, one without any object, the yogi should practice absorption, samadhi. In just 12 days, i.e. of practicing the unconditioned meditation, he attains absorption or samadhi. By holding the breath, the wise yogi is sure to become liberated while alive. Absorption, i.e. samadhi, is the condition of identity of the individual and universal selves. So it's that notion I was talking about before, that Upanishadic notion of your identifying yourself with the absolute Brahman. When you get to this last level, though, samadhi, it becomes more fraught with kind of sectarian difficulties in that you're having, then you almost have to return to the notion of metaphysics and philosophy, what we're meant to talk about yoga philosophy, because you need to express your understanding of what moksha, liberation, samadhi is in terms of your understanding of the metaphysics of the world. So you see, you get here, absorption is the condition of identity of the individual and universal self. So that is the notion of Vedanta that I've been talking about, Advaita Vedanta, which is the kind of most common philosophical position of India, of the Atman and Brahman being the same. But the Hatha Pradipika, which is, I've been saying how it's a compilation of lots of teachings from lots of different texts, and so a lot of the texts have differing understandings of the nature of reality and of what Samadhi is. And it has a very interesting verse or two at the beginning of its last chapter in which it says what Samadhi is. Well, I'll read it here, I think it's the first verse. So the whole of the fourth chapter is devoted to methods of Samadhi, but there's various different ones. I mean, one of them is nada, this listening to the resonance. But then the third verse says Raja Yoga, most of these are Sanskrit words, but I'll read them out anyway. Raja Yoga, Samadhi, Unmani, Manonmani, Amaratva, Laya, Tattva, Shunya, Paramapada, Amanaska, Advaita, Niralamba, Niranjana, Jivan Mukti, Sahaja, and Tulya are synonyms. So they all mean the same thing. Basically, these are all kind of words for the ultimate condition that you can achieve through yoga from different schools. And this is a very kind of, what do you call it, ecumenical, broad church text, and it's trying to cater to everyone. So it's giving all these different definitions and saying that they all basically mean the same thing. I'll read a couple of pages of the Samadhi section of the Gherandana. So Samadhi, the highest yoga, is attained by the very fortunate. It is received through the compassion and grace of the Guru and by devotion to him. That yogi quickly attains the most beautiful practice who every day has conviction in his learning, conviction in his Guru, conviction in his self, and awakening of his mind. Separate the mind from the body and unite it with the Supreme Soul. When your consciousness is free from its different states, know that to be Samadhi. I am Brahman and nothing else. I am Brahman alone and do not suffer. My form is truth, consciousness and bliss. So that's a classic Vedantic saying that Satchit Ananda, exactly, is the kind of nature of reality, truth, consciousness and bliss. I am eternally free, I abide in my own nature. And then it gets a bit more specific. So by means of Shambhavi, Brahmari, Kechari and Yoni Mudra, these different mudras. And Shambhavi Mudra is this kind of meditation on the inner light. Brahmari is the kumbhaka, the buzzing bee kumbhaka. Kechari is the tongue technique. And Yoni Mudra. Through these four methods, four types of samadhi arise. So Shambhavi, this meditation on the inner light, brings about Dhyana. And then Brahmari, the noise, the buzzing of the bee, brings about Nada Samadhi. And Kechari, Rasananda, which means bliss from taste. Bliss, so you're tasting the Amrita, the nectar of immortality. And through Yoni Mudra you get this laya, this dissolution. The fifth means of reaching Samadhi is through devotion. And the sixth is through trance, this notion of murcha that we had of almost fainting.